Welcome to episode 13 of Dialing the Gate. I'm your host, David Reed, and we have a lovely, long show for you. Be prepared for the long haul here. I just got off this is the wonderful thing about these pre-recorded shows, Robert C. Cooper and Andee Frizzell. I can do the pieces out of order and then assemble them as an editor later. I just got off the Zoom with Andee Frizzell. We talked 2 hours. So what you're about to see is a lengthy interview. It is a great interview. She stays fascinating the whole way through. So get your pee break in now because you're going to need it. But before I go any further, if you like Stargate and would like to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal to me if you would click that like button. It really makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will definitely help the show grow its audience. It already has started. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. Giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. This is key if you plan on watching live. So clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on both the Dial the Gate and gateworld.net YouTube channels. So this is going to be a pretty abbreviated episode in terms of the mechanics of it because it's all. So this episode is going to be approximately 2 hours long, probably a little bit over or under, depending on where things land in the editing. But Andee was a hoot, and she's communicating to us from Phuket, which is why my room is so dark. So because the sun is on the other side of the planet. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Andee. Without further ado, I have on the line straight from Thailand, Miss Andee Frizzell. Andee, how are you? It's good to see you.
From the Pegasus Galaxy to Phuket, here I am.
Why Phuket? Tell us the story.
The story, the story begins about 2 years ago. I decided to take a walk about the planet. I started my journey in Colombia.
Yes, you did. That's when we last talked.
Exactly. So I literally did that convention, and Monday morning, I got on a plane, and that was the last time I saw 90% of my wardrobe was that day. And so I packed a bag and I went to South America. So I was in Colombia for 5 months. So I did Colombia, down into Ecuador, Venezuela, that area. And then I came back to Canada for 4 days and flew to Indonesia. I went to Bali. So I was in Bali for 3 months, which was just incredible, absolutely incredible experience. And then from Bali, I went back through Vancouver. So I just seem to keep dropping off guitars that I buy and suitcases. They're just piling up in the middle of the living room. And then from there, I went to Turkey for a month, Greece for 5 weeks, Portugal for 5 weeks. And then I went to Costa Rica, and I was in Costa Rica for 3 months. And then I know, just a big walkabout. And it now with 2020, grinding to a halt, I feel I've been so blessed that I took that time previously to wet my travel shoes, get out my travel shoes. Yeah, something like that. And so then I went from Costa Rica, I went to Australia, and I spent the 3 months in Australia. So I was making my way slowly back to Canada. Well, actually, I was going to make my way to England first. There was a CalMA convention that was happening in June.
Correct.
So I wanted to do Southeast Asia because of my touch of it through Bali and Indonesia. I loved it so much. I went to Kuala Lumpur as well. Yes. So in that time, so I was like, I know I want to come back. So I had basically had plane tickets that went from, I went from Australia, from Melbourne to Phuket. And then I was going to spend a month here. And then my next place was the Philippines. And then I was going on to Sri Lanka. And it was this whole journey. And so I arrived in the night. I went to sleep and I woke up in the morning and went, what? And all my flights had been canceled. The world stopped suddenly. So that was 8 months ago. 8 months so I'm literally Thai now. I'm pretty much Thai.
Yeah,
I mean, I look Thai, right?
I wasn't going to say anything.
I just blend right in,
So
like I just,
wow. So
they've accepted me.
has it been stressful changing obviously you didn't plan on spending this much time here. Have you had to make new arrangements and everything? Do you in a way I mean, it's obvious, you just showed me some of it. It's obviously paradise, but I mean, You're still displaced. Is there a feeling of, I'm still trapped. I'm in paradise, but I can't leave here.
Yeah. No. I've even taken the word strand or stuck. There were so many people like you stuck in Thailand. I was like, I have been so blessed and highly favored to arrive here. I could have been, anywhere in the world at this time when this happened. And I am so grateful that I landed here. And so, and in comparison to the upheaval that this has caused in so many people's lives, I can't even begin to make a complaint. We had a monsoon. Well, we had 3 monsoons come through, or 3 tropical storms, typhoons come through. And I still didn't want to complain, because that's, so many people are really displaced. And I'm very lucky. I do voice work online. So It's really not, it hasn't disrupted my, my work, my creativity. You really only wear flip-flops and shorts. So the only thing I would say, if we're going to make a complaint, is I really didn't have very many clothes. And after, washing 3 things a lot, they start to dissolve.
You're tall,
basically.
I can't imagine that it's easy to get stuff there.
This is what I was
fit.
So ding. So they don't have, exactly where I was going. So they don't have Amazon here. They have Lazada. And I was like washing the same 2 pairs of yoga pants, 2 pairs of shorts, because I do yoga every day. Yeah. Right. And so they were getting pretty threadbare, I'm pretty sure my downward dog was like moons over my hammy at some point, you got to get some. So anyway, I decided to go on Lazada and order, right? And of course they have the sizes like small, medium, and large. And I'm like,
large.
Okay. So I ordered these shorts and they came, and I was like, and I did order them large, because I like baggy clothes for when I'm doing yoga. I can't even describe how itty bitty these shorts were. I mean, and this was the largest. So this is my complaint, that I'm a giantess, in a country of itty bitty. So that's been kind of funny. And actually some friends of mine back in Canada were laughing, like, you have to do a YouTube show, where you open stuff from Lazada and try it on. And I was like, I think they have pornography laws here, because some of these outfits are pretty small. But I think they have some kind of YouTube thing that's like open the box surprises or something.
Of course,
they were
I mean, you can only put so much of it on, so there's a lot
I was
left
like,
to cover.
I was like, there's this. It would literally be like just bands of inappropriate, right? So anyway, yeah. So to go on as I really can't. I don't have a single complaint, and there's so many people's lives have been uprooted, and there's not a complaint at all. I don't feel displaced. I was able to, because of my especially at the time, very nomadic. I mean, I was headed back to Vancouver to shoot. The entire industry stopped, while they revamped a lot of their regulations and rules and stuff. So work came to us on that front, stopped anyway, So no complaints here at all.
I lived in the Philippines for the better of a part of a year while I worked at PayPal.
Oh, wow. We're in the Philippines. Look at this giant cup.
Yep.
This is perspective.
I'm going to have to take a screenshot of this. This is fantastic.
This is high.
At least you got is it tea or is it coffee?
It's actually water, but I thought this looked gross. So I thought this looked like
I see what you're doing.
You know,
I got it.
So yes, because like when you're filming, they have to take all the brand names out of everything, right? So I didn't want to be like, what else, David? Ding, ding,
Andee
ding,
drinks Crystal.
So,
Drink Crystal
exactly,
today. Andee
right?
approves.
Exactly. So I was like, look at this giant.
Oh my gosh. But
anyway,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. Where in the Philippines were you?
Makati City, the capital. At Manila. So
Manila.
I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to leave. I had made so many friends and it wasn't just the friends. It was living there changed my life in a way that I can't describe because they are so much happier than Western people are. And they look up to us so much. And as I told them again and again, you guys you're the ones to be envied. You have nothing compared to many parts of the world. Your home floods. As many of my friends, their home flooded every year.
Yeah.
And
the monsoons.
The monsoons would come in and they would row to the call center part way and then take the jeepney for the rest of the way. I'm sure you did the whole jeepney thing, with our heads ducked down because we don't fit. But, then they're looking up to us and saying, oh, the Western world is, you're happier than all of us almost combined,
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about just who I was as a person and how, when I came back, like we would get on, I would watch the news and, so-and-so would call so-and-so a such and such and a such and such. They called them a such and such. Can you believe that? Oh, now we have to initiate an apology.
Yeah.
They must have an apology for the such and such. And I was like, guys, you have roofs over you. You have clean running water that you flush down the toilet. And it just changed my life. Absolutely. I love the Pinoys. They're the hardest working people I have ever encountered.
Yeah, I think that's why I travel, right? Is to keep that perspective, because really, I can have opinions and thoughts on things, but it's all just based on my experience. So the broader that I can make my experience. So I told this saying, you please somebody look it up. I don't know where it came from, but I had heard it once and I make it my mantra. A smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. And so, not to say mistakes, but that learning from other people's experiences. So the more experiences I can put myself in situations, the broader I think my worldview is. It becomes a worldview because my view is of that entirety and not so narrowed, right? Because when you live in a small town, like in a small radius, and that becomes your whole world. And so whatever can happen in that space is relevant and important to you at that. So when you're saying, the injustices of speaking out and apologies, and in that small world, that really is relevant and important to the people that are experiencing that. I find the broader that I can make my experience, and right now, like, what do we value as people as irrelevant and important? Like, what are we when we are not able to go outside? Thinking about connection with people. How many people live like 2 blocks or 3 blocks from your house, and you haven't made time to see them? We're all so busy doing all of these things, and then we're locked in our house, and all you want to do is see that person that lives like 2 to 3 blocks away.
And we're on these all the time.
Exactly. We're experiencing the world through that distance,
And it's continuing
through
to
that
separate us more
technology.
and more. Otto von Bismarck, who was a Prussian German statesman. Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Yeah.
Yes, I Andeized it.
Yeah, you Andeized it. That's great. That's great.
But it's
go ahead.
That kind of, the more experiences that you can have, you can see the prioritizing, what they prioritize. And my experience here, when I came to Thailand, or came to Phuket specifically, I was here for the lockdown. And so it wasn't just the airports closing. They locked down Phuket into its districts. And so I was in this district, and so the government announced that this was going to happen. Everybody was to stay in their homes, and then there was like a mobile unit that came around and tested people. And anyway, so what that lockdown was happening, and I went to the grocery store to stock up for food, and you could see the difference between the Westerners, the foreigners, and what we were buying and what the Thai people were buying.
The types of things in your shopping cart, you mean, or your basket?
The amount, yes. And I like how you say basket, okay? So the foreigners were in lineups with wheelie carts, 2 to 3 of them, all, and you're pulling like a train towards the checkout. And, full of alcohol and chips.
Everything they'll need for a month, probably.
Everything they'll need for, and that the lockdown was a month. It was a month long. So that's what they were like. And then right behind them was and this was 2 foreigners, a couple, say, right? And then right behind them was a Thai family. So there was the father, the 3 children, the mom, and they had rice, vegetable, and they were they didn't even have a basket. They were like, this is what we're going to need, and it just was interesting, not in a judgmental way, but just what is a priority? What do we prioritize? And as you're going away for 1 month, what are you going to pack?
And how much do we really need?
And a lot of prepackaged food and a lot of alcohol and a lot of it was very interesting to me, just what we prioritize. And I think if now after that month, you put those same people and said the same thing was going to happen, would they choose different things now that we've had that experience? It would be very interesting. And also I don't want to say disposable income, but here, and I'm speaking very globally and only from what I witness and my personal experience. So of course, anyone can say that's not true of, for sure my theories, my opinions can be challenged. So I just like to put that out there. It's not every Thai person, but I feel that they don't live with credit like we do. So to get, 3 carts of food at one time is accessible to a culture that lives in credit or, has credit cards and whatnot. And I found that the Thai people don't have access to that. They live quite frugally, and they live, sort of not hand to mouth, but in that sort of cycle. So there's also that difference when you don't have this accessible, credit. What do you prioritize? Right. Is it, do you want 6 cases of beer? If you have to pay from them for the future, like from your future, you're paying for them, Yep. I don't know. It was just an interesting place to be. And then of course, to see what's happening in the West in relation to what's happening here. And I'm not making opinions about who did what right or wrong. It's just, you can, everything is being documented. And so you can see these very different views and very different ways of handling things. So I found that very interesting. Especially like the mask culture. And I'm not here to judge or to opinionate anyone's personal choices. Here, though, a majority of people ride scooters, and I myself included.
Good for you. And I loved it.
Yeah, I look like a giant match, with this helmet and this skinny body, hitting lots of wind surface, but I love my scooter. And so it's a scooter culture. And because of pollution and bugs and things, everyone wears a mask. And so it's it was seamless to move that mask from outside to inside. It's just part of their culture here. And then, you know, speaking with my friends in Canada, Vancouver specifically has a large Asian population. And so masks, and I'm not speaking for everyone at all, you know, and saying it's the 100% rule, just an opinion.
Yeah, the Eastern cultures tend to wear masks more than we do. I saw it when I was in Japan. And, you know, if you're sick or if you feel sick, you wear a mask.
Yeah, and so they just have a different view of again, and this is the whole conversation we're having right now, is a different view. It's not a right or wrong thing, just a different view of it. So for me, it became quite seamless. It was masks were very accessible. You found ones that worked and ones that didn't, like some that made you way sweatier, you know, dripping down here. And you know, it was just a different way of approaching the situation, it seems. And then you have, because everything is so documented now, right? Seeing how different cultures, different countries just handled it so differently.
Yeah.
Yes, and not to say anyone will only be able to look back and say who did it better, who wore it best, you know, who wore 2020 the best. In hindsight, we're in it right now, and it's unprecedented. And so, you know, maybe this is a Pollyanna view of it, but everyone's trying to do the best they can. You know, in my opinion, you know, trying to make it work in unprecedented circumstances. So
I'm really grateful to have you on the show. This show is supposed to be an oral history of Stargate, but we also want to capture you as a person. So if you could do me a favor and tell me about your upbringing. Where are you from originally? And who are you as a young person?
That's pretty funny. What I wanted to say I don't even know what time we're at right now. What we've learned about me is that I talk a lot. That's what we learned about so far.
Not possible.
I was like, I'm waiting for the red light to like, it's over, get off the, you know. So that's what we learned about me so far. So I'm Canadian. I was born on the east coast of Canada, so in a little island called Prince Edward Island. As you see, the nomadic genes don't fall too far from the tree. My mom traveled. We lived in every province and one territory. So I grew up moving around the country. And then when I was 17, I moved myself to Europe, and then I traveled extensively for about 11 years. So all over Europe, South America. Yeah. So I'm much more comfortable. I think comfortable. You know, when people say like your comfort zone, I feel like my comfort zone is out of my.
The friggin' planet.
Much more comfortable.
Yeah.
When I'm not comfortable, when I'm like, where's the water and why is there a lump in this bed and what's that? I'm much more comfortable in uncertainty, I think, than when it's too certain. Maybe, I guess. And so I grew up all over Canada.
Did your parents instill in you a sense of, because of the movement, a sense of wonder about the world? And who's responsible for that?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I'm a little bit older. So I had parents, you know, in the 80s. And 80s parents weren't really like, let's sit down and talk about the welfare of my child. You know, they were like, this is what we're doing and we have the food. So if you want to come with us, you know, you might want to get in the car. Yeah, if you want to, like, you know. So I just find it really interesting because we now superimpose today's parenting of openness and discussion and
Honey, what do you want?
Yeah, there wasn't really, like, I remember coming home from school and seeing like a couch go out the door and I'm like, I think I'm moving. And then my friend's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, okay, bye. You know, like, so and whatever the motivations behind that, like, you know, is economics for work, I'm sure, but also curiosity on my mom's part of, you know, finding better jobs in schools and things like that. And she wasn't tied down to certainty. So I guess that was instilled in me. And I guess you can go two ways with that. You can embrace it and have a curiosity about it, or you can become anxious about it and want to create even more stability in your life, right? Really not move, really not. So I guess I embraced it and then took it global.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Who are your heroes?
So
who made you the person you are today? Through real life, through study? Who do you consider your heroes?
Well, it's funny you should say who made me the person I am today. I don't know if it's a person, but adversity absolutely made me the person I am today. I think that's really how, by putting yourself, by going outside of your comfort zone and challenging yourself, and adversity coming up and problem solving, and that creates who you become. I mean, I have heroes. I have people that I admire, that I look up to, especially in my career, like with actors. Philip Seymour Hoffman was just, right, incredible.
Gone too soon.
Absolutely. And, Kate Blanchett and just so many incredible actors. And one of my someone I admire very, very much because of his ability is Brad Pitt. And it never ceases to absolutely amaze me that this man is one of the most, someone can challenge my statistics, by the way, but is one of the most photographed people on the planet, right? And yet, so we know his face, and yet you can go into a movie theater, or I guess you used to be able to. You can watch a movie.
One day. Yeah.
One day. You can watch a movie that stars Brad Pitt, and in seconds, you forget that you're watching Brad Pitt. Like his ability to create this character that's so believable that even your logical brain that knows that is Brad Pitt, he's so recognizable, you are completely lost in the story and lost in his character. I just, that to me is an incredible ability and something that I would love. And I mean, I have been so lucky that my characters are not, thankfully, are not even recognizable to myself. Like I get to like come alive in the chair, with the Wraith Queens. And so I'm already 10 steps ahead, of having to create that out of, non-recognizable, he's so recognizable and then he has to work against what you already know. And he's so good at that. And I'm like, you don't even know what's happening under here. And I'm sure I have shared with you multiple stories of the first season, going to the wrap party and walking up to Bev, who at the time was the mic lady, and I was like, hey, how's it going? And she was like, good, and kind of turning away from me. And I was like, hey, lady. Yes, I was like, hey, you just had your hands down my pants yesterday, and now you won't even look me in the eyes? And she was like, Andee, like it was, like, because miking is the last thing that happens. So I had already spent all my hours in the chair, and because of the length of time of putting the prosthetics on, that I arrived hours before even
everyone
the
else.
Other trailers.
Yeah.
But I'm not even talking just about like the other actors and the crew and catering. I arrived before other trailers arrived. Like I would get to the lot and there would be one trailer and that's where, and I'd go in and the circus would be built around me while I was getting my face on. And then I would walk out and I'll be like, there's people. So even catering had never seen my face. Even the guys that, that put the trailers together, the Teamsters, they had never even seen my face until second season.
James, is it Lafazanos?
Yes.
And, sometimes like Dan Payne or, those people who were the Wraith entourage, they would have known who you were. But other than that,
Yeah, but and that's it. And James and I were the really only worked
the
together.
OG.
So yeah, so it was like we knew, and then we also had to be fitted for like contact lenses and stuff like that. And so I will say one of my favorite stories is actually being in the contact place, and I had yet to meet him, but I went there to get the lenses fitted, and I turned around and he walked in the door, and both of us were like, ooh. I had never seen this man who looks exactly like me. Like we have the same bone structure. We're the same height. We're both sort of blonde. And we looked at each other like, are we related? Like, how did they find the two of us? And Vancouver's not such a giant city. And it's not, but I'd never seen him before.
Right. Brad Wright always said that the Wraith are very genetically similar to one another. So, it made sense that they found someone that looked very similar to you.
Yeah, and it was so crazy because we were both like, wow, like how have I never seen you before? Like at a showing of something else, or mini pitch and putt in Stanley Park. How have I never seen you before? And you do look like my brother, So I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, where were we going? Yes. So for me, the real essence of an actor is to be able to take you into the story, and someone who can do that, who is so recognizable, I just think is incredible. And Cate Blanchett as well, her ability to just absorb you into the story, and you're like, I know this amazing, beautiful woman.
You forget you're watching them.
You absolutely, and you're completely absorbed into their character.
I have the same reaction to Johnny Depp. He is a chameleon. He disappears right in front of you, even if he's not heavily in makeup. So and that's what I was saying is I had the benefit of heavily in makeup, So I guess if you say those are my heroes, but hero is such an interesting word. I like how you use that word. I think the heroes are really the people that are gonna get out of the situation that we're in right now, Definitely, a different, that is definitely the most pure form of hero as far as I'm concerned. But the people that in that kind of context, and you answered it, the people who enable you to professionally aspire to what you want to be and things like that.
Yeah, and now as a professional, and
not necessarily the life person. Like if I'm going to do something at the most critical moment of my life, the reason that I'm on this earth, that's what you're referring to. There is that other form of hero.
Yeah, just kind of like, they inspire you to look inside yourself. And so that was professionally, but just heroes in general. And that's what I mean by how we come out of this on the other side. Those are the people that are inspiring me, because it's making me look inside myself, and those are heroes to me. It's not so much what they do, but what they can inspire in you to do. And so you can take that professionally, you can take that community-wise, socially, relationships, in my opinion. So those are heroes. And
is any of Stargate's content, in your estimation, the what you worked on at least, more relevant now than it was when it was filmed?
Oh, that's interesting. I think I know why Stargate is intrinsically, like, people love it, and they're such devoted fans of it, is because of the inspiration of imagination. It takes us out of the here and now into the imagination, into boundaries and pushing boundaries and things, worlds, new exploration, that curiosity, so I think that is why sci-fi shows have these lasting fans, because they, no matter when you watch it, you're still inspired. It still broadens you to this different worldview, like a bigger worldview that encompasses more worlds, right? But like specific content or specific messages, that's where I'm jamming up, because I don't really know.
Hey, if you didn't see it when it was on the air, you said you didn't have a television set?
Yeah, I didn't.
Some people don't watch TV.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say, is like, I understand the value of it, absolutely understand the value of the show, but to speak in particulars about the content or certain content, I don't want to speak out in fakely. There's enough fake news happening. I don't want to
add to it. Well, let me ask you this then.
And so that's why it's jamming me up, I think.
How aware of the franchise were you before being cast? I mean, you were in the Vancouver area. It was shot up there for 7 years before Atlantis even appeared.
Yeah. Well, which is interesting that you say that, because we cast this in 2004, and I was living in Vancouver. I just moved there in 2000. And so Stargate, what did I know about it as an actor? Was that it was casting in, and I had auditioned for, like parts and roles and things that were coming up, smaller things. But watching the actual show, I see, this is what's so incredible about the show is, even though I'm not a sci-fi show series watcher, I guess, is that I heard of the show. And I'd watched the movie, right? The original movie. And I thought that was fascinating. The idea that there would be a gate that would, take us to these other worlds, and that, how much of the unknown things that are here on our planet now, unexplained things could come from this. Like, the imagination was incredible. And then again, you and I talked about this, one of our first interviews, about the religious and social ideas and that came out of all of it. Spiritual. And so I found, like, even though I wasn't watching the show, I still knew of the show and knew the show's impact, even if I didn't know specific episodes. But now, of course, with streaming and the internet, to be able to check into a show that you're going to audition for, just to see how they're filming it, what kind of themes they're, working with, it's completely different. At that time, there wasn't, I mean, even if I had a television and cable network, I would have to have waited until the episode aired. Remember those days, So it sounds like I'm talking about it like so far in the past, where, we didn't have running water. But
it depends on your perspective.
I know, it's so funny how quickly we adapted to this technology.
People who were born when you were shooting are driving now, Andee.
Oh my God. Are they? Or are they just telling their car to do stuff?
Oh
and the
my
car
gosh,
is
ain't
driving?
that the truth?
It's crazy.
What
it's
a world.
And I actually went to a side story.
Yeah.
Please do feel free to edit whatever you want, by the way, because I will just keep talking to you.
Okay.
But side story, I was at a friend's birthday party, and it's like a younger guy friend of mine, and they were talking about Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook, and not for any other reason than it just seemed like one more password to have to remember. So I am not, I'm like, oh, forget it. And if I didn't speak to you from kindergarten, there's probably a reason. You ate that red crayon and I wanted to use it. So anyway, the point being, I'm not on Facebook. And so I was talking about my traveling, and they were very curious as to how you keep in touch with people, before. And so I was saying before Facebook. And I said, I traveled around the world before Facebook. And this guy says to me, I said, I traveled around the world before the internet. And this guy says to me, he's like, yeah, I remember when it was only MySpace. And I was like, MySpace, fool? I'm talking no internet, like not even just like platforms, social media platforms. There was no internet, like no internet. There was no Google Maps.
Were there cell phones?
There was no cell phones.
Okay,
No cell.
So that's
pre
early 90s.
Then, yeah. 1992, I started traveling. 1992. When my first trip to France at 1990, I left in 90. Well, I left late 91. So there was no. And I remember in 1999, I was living in Athens, and there was the internet existed. Okay, at that point they existed, and there was Hotmail, and you could get okay, honest to God, look
I
at
had
my
one.
face. Like,
I had one in '98.
But I'm not like 1,000 years old. That's what I'm trying to say. Like this is incredible that it's happened so quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to say, like, again, I was traveling a lot, and then I moved to Vancouver in 2000, and I started my career then, my acting career. So I had heard of the show. Obviously, it was casting there, but I heard of the impact from the fans of what they were creating, the content that they were creating, how imaginative it was. But had I access to sit and watch, I didn't watch television.
Got it.
I know. I still don't. Okay, can I tell you another little secret?
Yeah.
So I've been in the room that I've been in now for 3 months. And a friend in the building, something happened because we had these typhoons coming through. So the power was going out, towers were going down. And so he texted me and he said, "Is your cable on your television, is it working?" And I wrote back, "I have a television?" And I was looking around my room. I didn't even know. And there's a giant flat screen, like a 60-inch. I haven't even turned it on. I didn't cable. Why am I watching Thai cable television? Like,
I was in Chicago for Christmas, and I was in a bedroom at my cousin's house, and I had been there. We were on death watch, watching my uncle died of Agent Orange, and so we were there for 3 weeks.
Oh,
and,
David, I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you. We got to spend some time with him before he went. But anyway, the room that I was in also had a giant flat screen television, and I mentioned something about not having like TV or whatever, and they're like, "There's one in there. There's one in there." And I walked in there and I noticed it for the first time. So it's not just you. I rarely, it's my device. So I'm not saying that I don't use that stuff, but I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
So it's not just you, Andee.
Yes. And I know, and then people laugh at me. They're like, "How can you, be an actor?" And I'm like, well, studying, like, that's what the internet has been so incredible, like being able to study, the actor's studio. Correct. To watch actors, to do. And when I was in Australia, I went to the Howard Fine studio of acting there. So he's a coach from LA that has a studio in Melbourne. And I got back on stage for the first time in a long time. It was incredible. And so the tool and skill of acting is not necessarily watching, shows, right? I am an avid reader. Avid. I think they just sent me a ping saying, since January, I've read 1,200 and some books.
Good for you. Wow, you slurp them down like Skittles. Holy cow.
I do. And I mean, obviously I have lots of time on my hands, so it's not, I wouldn't expect like a normal person to be able to get 1,000 books down in 10 months. But and I'm not saying they're tomes of like,
yeah, but they're not. Yeah, but they're not Goosebumps books, Andee. I mean, they're probably,
I'm just saying it's, yeah. Well, I like the Goosebumps books, though.
Oh, God.
I can't believe you picked them specifically.
Well, I was thinking of something short, and shorter than that is like Amelia Bedelia, like from when I was growing up. So I mean, come on.
Yeah, I do have a bunch of the
R.L. Stine.
Yes, I love them.
Oh my gosh! Secret revealed.
I know.
That's too funny.
It's so funny. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I can understand the allure of sci-fi and fantasy and fiction, and I love that. But my medium of absorbing it is through my Kobo. Well, it's not I'm not carrying a bunch of books with me, even though this makes it look like I.
No, you're the library there. So let me.
Yeah, I know. I look at my library.
Let me bring this back. So the
actual questions.
No, what was your initial breakdown of the Keeper? Who, I mean, she was a queen for all we know that now.
Yeah.
She was a Wraith Queen. And what did you infer just based on the script? And tell us about the audition.
Well, what was super exciting about this script is this character had never been seen before, and I was the queen.
The race had never been seen before.
That's what I mean. Like nothing, they didn't exist, and so this is where great writing comes in. Like, people can say, "Oh, I'm a great actor, and this is a great director," and the all of that works, but not in a silo. We need everybody. And so I can say, like, I created this sense that they were more reptilian, like I love that kind of idea. And James had the same sense. But where did we elicit that from? Is from the text. The writing was so good that it just, again, it enabled us. And then the creativity of the masks and of the prosthetics, right? From the amazing creativity of the vision that they had for the race, for the Wraith, the Wraith race.
Oh my God.
The Wraith race. And so I was able to elicit from that. The writing was super great. So I remember the audition came through, and I can't remember what it was for, like must have been a Halloween costume or something, but I had this platinum blonde, like egghead kind of looking wig that was very severe. And I've never, most of my auditions, I go in just wearing a black singlet and black, tights, and I just do it. If I can't convey to you who I am without a costume, then to me, I'm not doing my job, right? And so I don't really dress up for auditions, but for some reason, I just felt like I wanted to really wash out any humanness in myself, So I put no makeup on, and unlike what these are telling you right now, it's the lighting in here. I'm quite blonde, like no eyebrows, no eyelashes. So I put no makeup on, and then I had this really severe wig. So it just was like all cheekbones and jaw, and then in the audition itself, I just really focused on the eyes, and because I felt like again, from the writing, everything is just, I'm just picking it up from the tight writing, was that this was like a predator prey, and I was the predator. And so it was all eye contact. And so that was the audition. And I will say, and somebody else could tell me different, but what my imagination told me was I didn't even get a call back. We did first auditions, and then I got the part. And so I'm not saying weren't people in contention as well.
Right,
I'm sure there was other very talented. Yeah. There was no callback for that. And so I felt like they saw in me, or I was able to pull from the page at least something that they saw. And I'm not saying there wasn't other talented people in the mix or other things. I feel like I really was able to embody what they were trying to convey on the page. And that's how I got it. I'd like to say that's how I got it. Somebody else would be like, Martin would be like, oh no, she was the one, she was the tallest one.
That's funny. But no, I mean, that's a point. I don't think you've ever brought that up though, where you were the peak predator in the Pegasus Galaxy, as the Queen knew, as far as she was concerned. And I don't ever recall thinking about, making piercing eye contact with your prey.
Yes. And
like a snake would.
Yes, and so you see you're starting to do it now, like it's deductive reasoning, right? So you're like, if I am this and if I am that, and all of it's being pulled from the dialogue, all of it's being pulled from the writing. It just makes, and then not having a precedent of what it was previously, the imagination just percolates, and then to meet up with James and him intrinsically having the same sort of nuances as well, like
and physicality, probably
physical. That's the thing. And we were both like, this is amazing, you know, that we both picked up that. But that comes from great writing, right? Great storytelling.
Great costuming, great makeup,
and
great actors.
This is a great act. See, it's all comes together, right? And so I don't think anything happens in a silo, you know, like I read it and then I imagined all of this. I was able to pull from set deck even, you know, walking into the set. And you're like, I was feeling that, like set deck. And here's a great example of that.
Mark Davidson, set decorator.
Thank you. You're awesome with all the names. I'm the worst with names.
Mark is brilliant.
Absolutely. And so I remember, you know, walking onto set for the keeper, and she's devoured the skeleton, right? And so when I came on and I saw that full skeleton, and I pass Dan Payne, and I'm talking to Robert Patrick, who's behind me, and I saw that the skeleton there, and I just felt this taunting, like, this is going to be you. Like, I have all the power here. And I started to stroke the top of that skeleton, you know, and then it really highlighted like the fingers. But that just came from this. I wasn't in my trailer, like, you know, it'd be great. I didn't even know there was going to be
right.
Yeah. You know, that sounded really gross. I was in my trailer and I wanted, do not clip that part out. I was in my trailer. I wanted to stroke a skeleton. Anyway.
Well, what you're telling him Robert Patrick, is you're next.
That's it. And it was like I was playing with and so, you know, as an actor, you use all the things that are around you. And because I was surrounded by so much talent, it was, I want to say it was easy to create this character, you know, because of everything that you're given, right? So yeah, those are my recollections of how she evolved, you know, how the queens and
how did you work to identify with a species or a character that is more or less like this guy back here, set up to be the epitome of absolute evil? I mean, these creatures absorb the essence of human beings.
You know, you literally just took us full circle, my friend, full circle, because the very first interview I ever did for Stargate was with you. It was at a sci-fi convention.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? And it was, you asked me about being evil. And I looked at you and said, I'm not evil. I'm just hungry. Do you remember?
Yes, I do now.
And I think you titled it Queen of the Hungry.
Yes, I did. That's right. Good recall. Right?
Yes, because I can't remember people's names, but yeah. Because as a character, as an alien, as a person, as a whatever, you never think your intentions are evil. You never think that. You think that we judge others by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intent.
That's Stephen Covey. I'm pretty sure that's Stephen Covey. We judge ourselves by our intention and others by their behavior.
By their behavior. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my intention as this wraith was to eat and to feed and to procreate and to keep my species going at whatever that meant, or whatever do you look at a bear and be like, that bear is evil, you know? No, it's in their nature. Right. That's what they're doing, you know? So yeah. I remember this conversation and I was like, I'm not evil. And you're like, but you're evil.
They're evil to us. But
exactly.
you have the line in the pilot, all living things must eat, you know?
Eat.
And she's also not going in there, strolling in there and saying, God, I'm really sorry, I have to do this, you know? And then but she's playing with her prey like a cat plays with a mouse. You know?
Right, but that's and this is what I think is really fascinating, is our limitations as humans to put human characteristics
anthropomorphize.
Exactly.
It's a fair point.
Oh yeah, that just rolled right off of my tongue. Exactly what you just said. Is that, you say compassionately, she talks to him, right? So she gave him the benefit of the doubt that he was intelligent enough to speak to, right? Because if it was just a feeding frenzy, she would just ate him. So there is a human part to her that is doing the pray, play kind of concept. She is looking to get something from him other than sustenance, right? Because she wants to find, she wants information. Exactly. So, but she also wants to let him know, I'm not afraid. Like, I'm in charge. I'm the boss.
I'm top dog in this galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're at the top of the pyramid.
Exactly. And so, but I don't have to apologize. Do you know what I mean? Like, you walk into a bear, in a bear cave, and the bear is like, "Arr," and you're like, "Oh, do you feel bad?"
No, that's my fault. No. Yeah, I got into its space, so that's a fair point.
But I do find that really amazing. That we add these human faulty, well, not that compassion is faulty, but we add human characteristics to, So I never felt that she was evil. I felt that she was trying to do what they do, which is keep their race going, right? And so, yeah, I never felt that it was evil. So I didn't have to apply evil because I didn't think it was evil.
It's interesting, your frame of reference, as embodying this character. As the show progressed, it was basically confirmed that the ancients created them. So with the Iratus bugs, so they only became that which we allowed them to become by accident. So it's not their fault that they exist and that they do what they do.
And I think if you look, and maybe you can cut away in this 2 parts of that first interview, but I remember saying that exact thing. It's not my fault that you woke me up and that that I'm hungry, and I actually believe there's a point. So you might want to look that.
I didn't expect to be going back to 15 years ago. I should have done my homework.
Yeah, wasn't that long ago? But yeah,
I know.
So I think that's I think it was so funny when you said that, because it's full.
It connected you right there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. But again, sorry.
Please.
Oh, but again, even differentiating between the different queens. Again, was very easy because the writing was so solid. Her intentions were so clear, like in Submersion, get out of here. They were very allies, like everything, the intention, because the writing was so tight. I didn't have to add on to my characteristics. I just changed my intent. And when you change your intent, then you change your, like we were just saying, your behavior changes, right? You do things differently because you have a different intention. So, and the writers were so great at, and the overall story was so clear as to where they wanted me to go that I didn't have to make it up. It manifested itself from my setting a strong intention. It was there.
What was it like? You mentioned James. You brought up briefly Robert Patrick and Martin Wood. Absolutely. What was it like working with the likes of a Terminator and a director of 80 episodes of Stargate and a movie?
Oh, God. Well, Martin was very intimidating. I feel I felt very intimidated because he's very clear on what he likes to see, and he's very organized, and but after one day or one episode of shooting with him, you realize just how amicable he is, how he's a really comfortable, nice guy, but that director, you have in your mind, there's always and someone's so established, that it can be, when you first meet him, very intimidating because you see the director before you see the person. And I don't know if this is a story, but I remember the sort of, I wouldn't say the tension, it was the concentration of the pilot and how
it's a big
everything
deal.
was being, it really was,
Yeah.
you know, they're taking this very established a series and then adding onto it, you know, so, and already people want it to fail because it's not the original, you know, so he was taking something, and so there's a lot of intensity, you know, new characters, new people, everybody working. And so we call it the inner circle, is when the director calls in first team, and then we're all around, and you're in the set and the atmosphere, and he's kind of blocking it out. This is what I want to see happen. This is where, and so at this point, I think I'd only been there, maybe we'd been on set, it was maybe day 1 or day 2. I think it was probably day 1. Anyway, this intense huddle, you know, and everybody's like alert, like okay, where do you want this to go? And I, like I said, it was quite intimidating, you know, he's very sure and speaks, you know, with a lot of confidence. And so he's speaking, and then he stops and he looks around the circle and he goes, "Someone farted in the inner circle." And I died laughing. It just broke, because he said it with such intensity and certainty. And then he just walked away. And that's when I knew that, you know, this, to be intimidated is just, it was my thing, not his thing, you know. Yeah. Someone farted in the inner
SG1
circle.
was known for its flatulence behind the scenes.
Right? And maybe,
So,
I don't know whether it's because I had that big mask on or something. I didn't smell it, but
it wasn't in your section of the inner circle.
It wasn't in my section of the inner circle, I'll tell you that.
Oh my God.
But just you know, in that moment, you get past a director to being the creative person that he is, and you see him as a person, right? So he was great. And then Robert Patrick was amazing. You know, as a Canadian actor, and you have very established American actors coming in, and you hear all these stories about people's attitudes and stuff. Robert Patrick could not be more, I want to say accommodating, but he wasn't. He was just a comfortable. He treated everyone as a peer, as someone that was, you know, there was no pretense about him, and really Terminator. Like, you could have come in, and I know all of us would rightfully so had given homage, you know, but he didn't have any of those airs about him. Super comfortable. And I do have a funny Robert Patrick story. Again, we go back to the masks.
Yeah.
To wearing prosthetics. So fast forward a couple of years later, I would probably say 4 years later, I'm just going to guess now. Maybe it was 2008. And I was flying from LA to New Zealand. And I was walking through the LAX. I was walking through the airport. And Robert Patrick was walking the other way. And without thinking, you know, because he was so approachable and so friendly, I was like, "Robert!" And he's like, "Hey!" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's so good to see you." I was like, "What are you doing in the airport?" And he gave me a little brief. He's like, "Where are you off to?" I'm like, here. We chatted. And then I was like, "You know, man, it was really great to see you. I really enjoyed working with you on Stargate."
He had no
and he
idea
goes,
who you were.
"Oh, that's who you are." He's like, and then of course we burst out laughing. He's like, and I said, "You just figured out, just in that last sentence of what I said, who I was." And he said, "Yes." I said, "You gave nothing away. You're a really great actor because you gave nothing away. Like, I had no idea you didn't know who I was." And then he said, to my compliment, he said, "A beautiful woman walks up to you in the airport and says your name. What are you going to go? I don't know you?"
Right, exactly. Oh my God.
Oh, he was lovely. He's a lovely human.
I'm terrible with faces, and people will be like, "Hey, David, hey, you."
Oh, see, and we have the opposite, because you said to me, you know, you're dropping names for me and stuff, and I'm
well, I've done my
faces.
research.
Like,
That's something else.
Yeah,
so. That's funny.
I barely remember my name sometimes. You know, like I'm like, it's it's with no two E's. Yep, there's two. You know, and so, but faces, bang on.
Really?
But then I forget that they may not have seen me with this face.
Yeah, exactly.
I forget that. So I'm like, wow, what's happening, man? You know, and they're like, who is this person talking to me? It happened with Joe as well.
Flanigan?
Yeah. Because at the time, I had an apartment that was across the beach from the Stanley Park. And Joe and his wife and their kids were out riding bikes. And so I came down, I said, Joe, how's it going? I run. And he was like, you know, because he's like with his family. So immediately he's like, I could tell he was like, wait a second, you know, like if this is a fan or, you know, which is, he's completely open to speak to people, but this is his family is with him, you know? So it's totally,
you have to protect him.
And I was coming in, like, I wasn't like I was like, hi, you know? And I just murdered you 2 days ago, you know, or tried to murder you 2 days ago, you know, and I was coming in and then I recognized it on his face. And I was like, oh, Joe, it's me. It's Andee, the Wraith Queen. And then he was like, oh my God. And then he says to his wife, oh my God, that's the right, look at her, you know, like, it was pretty funny. But funny. You know, he was, I'm sure, I think it might've been different if he hadn't had his children with him as well, you know? Of course. But his first reaction was like, what is this coming at me? You know? And I was like, it's me. You know, hey, it's her, you know?
Speaking of all that makeup.
Yes.
A lot of latex, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had, in Rising, you actually had gloves. Those actually weren't your fingers.
Yes.
Right?
All the way up to the elbow.
Yeah.
There was like, they were long. They were really long. And they had finger extensions inside of them to elongate, right? And so to get your hand into this silicone, they literally squeezed 2 tubes of KY jelly, and and it was cold and wet and slimy, and it was so interesting. I cannot tell you how grateful I was that those hit the heat pretty quickly. They were pretty gross.
Wash your hands before you eat anything, Andee. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yes, it was nasty.
So
nasty.
The first, the Keeper, the first Wraith Queen to the last Wraith Queen, how long was that makeup process? What time would you get there in the day for the Keeper? And then the last Wraith Queen that you did, how long was that in comparison? And there were different types of makeup applied from beginning as opposed to the
absolutely.
End.
Yeah.
You said it got lighter.
Absolutely. So the very first mask they made out of silicone. And so the silicone for the Keeper, and so the silicone was beautiful. Like it had a beautiful texture, and then they could do all the face paint on top of it. So every time you see the Wraith Queen, that was a mask that they painted every single time. So it wasn't pre-painted. They did all the splattering, everything, every single, like from the get-go. So the silicone had this beautiful sheen to it, you know, like it had however, it was difficult to emote through it. And as the characters evolved and became more, in my opinion, more human, like we had more human characteristics, sort of like the conniving and lying, you know. The silicone was a beautiful texture to paint on, but it didn't have the pliability to really be able to emote what the character was doing. So they went from using that and that thick sort of silicone and the gloves to using bits of prosthetic. So to create the illusion of the same thing. So we used spray. So the very first time, because it was a test of makeup as well, right? So we had to test
find it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the hues gonna look like? What is the movement? You know, so that one time, that first time, with it being that thick and them kind of changing and playing with colors and stuff, that was 9.5 hours. So 9.5 hours in the chair. Yeah. And which is so fascinating because people meet me and they're like, how did you shut your mouth for 9 hours?
They pay
I
me.
don't think I did. I don't think I did. Yeah, they're like, how did you do that?
Oh God.
But yeah, so the first time it took 9.5 hours. But then the last time, the last queen that I did, they had perfected it down after the very first time. It never was 9 hours, 9.5 hours again. The next episode was yeah, exactly. And so the next one was 5 hours. So we kind of got it around 5 hours. And we got into this real routine, you know, like I had my Wraith team, I called them. They're the ones that followed me around the rest of the day when stuff would fall off and they'd have to glue it back on, or my eyes would do this, you know, they were there to rescue me.
They shift after a while.
Well, yeah, the cat eyes, right? Yeah. So they would like, you know, thing.
Would that be painful?
It looks like it does. You don't feel it. You don't. Wow. Well, painful. I had my prescription contacts underneath. So God. I had 4 lenses in my eyes.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yes. So I had my prescription lenses underneath these huge cat eye lenses. So the lenses were, you know, they just naturally, because there's a weight at the bottom, they would move. So I actually have a headshot somewhere, a promotion shot that is like my one eye is off. It looks like a pregnancy test. Like, no babies, you know. But yeah, so I had literally an eye wrangler that would just come and like put my eye back into place.
An eye wrangler.
Yeah, be like, eye wrangler over here. And so, you know, the Wraith team, we really got into a good rhythm. They really knew their paces. Like Holland was my guy, and they were amazing. They you know, shaved off all the extra time, and I guess after you get to know what process is next, and so you're able to get into it quicker. And so yeah, in the end, the process was, I think it was like we had it 5 hours and on it, like really shaved it down. But they went from silicone mask to a foam mask.
Yes, so okay? Submersion.
So, yes, and so
I love this
one
story.
of my favorite memories of this show was this episode of Submersion. So I get there in the morning, and like you asked, when did I get there? So I remember driving there, like, so call time was like, be on set was 9 a.m. And so to be actually on the set. So yeah, crew call was like 7 a.m. So I had to be there 5 hours before this setup, right?
So around 4.
I remember, yeah. So I remember going, like leaving my house to go, my alarm went off at 2 a.m. And then at 3 a.m., you know, I'm leaving the house, driving my car. I was passing people coming from nightclubs. They were just like, woo. And I'm like, going to work.
They haven't gone to bed yet.
They haven't even gone to bed. And I was like already up. And then I would get to Bridge Studios, and I parked, and I go around the back, and there was one trailer. And it was the makeup trailer. Like they didn't even have the catering, you know, nobody was hooked up yet. And this is before Starbucks moved in around the corner, which didn't even open till 6 anyway. But at the time, there was nobody there. So we get in, and I've read the script. I know where we're going. It's super exciting. So we do all of our regular stuff. We get the face on. And then, of course, every time I died and came back as a new queen, they gave me a new hairdo, right? So they got this.
Yeah, they're all different personality-wise. Yeah,
exactly, and different, like where they were, you know, like so with Submersion, she's like kind of murky and green, and you know she's been living in the dark, right? So sleeping in the dark. So she had the different hue, and anyway, they had this black hair, really, really long, gorgeous, and they wanted to like prop it up so it looked like, you know, but not so stuck on my head. So they put like a circle kind of foam thing to give it a bump, you know? So I had this beautiful mane of hair, and then this gorgeous, you know, neck piece, and just a stunning outfit. Again, you know, such talented people in wardrobe. Anyway, we go into set, and they're like, okay, here's the plan. We're going to have you, because we want to do this insane crane shot, right? And we go one shot at it. It's going to start from the top, and you're going to show the pool, and it's going to come around, And what we need you to do is go under the water and hold your breath and count, so that so you have a count to 10 as the crane is coming around. And then when it stops, we want you to, like, you know, creepily come out of the water. It's going to be amazing, right? And I'm like, this sounds awesome. So of course you know, it has to look like I'm not in the pool. So they took this gorgeous long hair and they tied it to my belt, right? So that it didn't float up when I was in the water. So the pool itself, even though it looks really, really deep, was only about maybe up to my waist. All right. And so I get into the water. They're describing it all to me. I can feel my mark, which happened to be like I want to say like a curling rock, but it was like a big rock with handles on it.
So you could grab onto it.
So because I'm full of air, right? So they didn't want me to kind of float, right? My butt go up in the air. And it also told me where my mark was, like, so where I was in focus, right? So I took a big, beautiful, deep breath, and I went under and I grabbed hold of this boulder, basically. And right away, I knew, this was a mistake. So I'm not a science expert, but foam floats. And we had completely forgot, like, no one had said to me, like, hey, so the second I got under the water, all of a sudden my face wanted to shoot straight out of the pool. And I'm like, oh my God, we have one shot at this crane shot. I've got to keep this face. And at the same simultaneous moment, my hair also decides to want to take off, and it's tied to my pants. So I'm holding onto a boulder under the water, full of breath. And all of a sudden, my pants, my hair, and my face are like trying to launch off. And I'm gripping this thing for all its life. I just have to count to 10. And the boulder is starting to bounce on the bottom of the pool. Like, the foam wants to be free. And I also, in the same moment, I'm thinking to myself, the second I let go of this thing, I'm going to shoot out of the water. And that's the complete opposite of what they want. So I basically had to hold onto my pants and slowly allow myself. But it was every single thing was trying to get out of the water. It was hilarious.
Is that the shot that they used?
And yeah, it's in there.
That's the one. It worked.
Yeah, it totally worked.
So the foam didn't disintegrate.
No, but because it was just trying. I was in there 10 seconds. I just had to hold on 10 seconds. But here's the thing. So when I finally come out, they're like, amazing, amazing. Let's reset and we'll go one more. And I'm like, no, we can't go again. My face will come straight up. Anyway, the masks were glued all the way down to my clavicle, like all the way down to this bone. So that night when I got home, and which is also an interesting story because I had to be driven home because of the cat eyes, right? They tunnel your vision. So when I took them out, I couldn't drive a car because I couldn't see the sides anymore. My vision was tunneled. And so anyway, when I got, and I always, I want to say unrobed, but I had to take it took 2 hours. What people don't realize, it took 5 hours to get in. It took 2 to get out of the makeup. So by the time I got home, I hadn't realized, but there was a string of hickeys where the mask was sucking and trying to get out of the water. So I had like a necklace of hickeys of this mask trying to take off from underneath the swimming pool.
The punishment that you as actors take.
Oh, so interesting. And then to elaborate and finish up this story. So we talked about what time I would get there. And I told you that the Teamsters hadn't even brought in all the trailers yet. The hair trailer, the wardrobe trailer wasn't there. The catering wasn't there. Nobody was there. Well, one night after we shot out really, really late, and I think it Submersion? It might have been Submersion. We shot out really, really late, and I was the last. So I was the first one on and the last one to leave, and it takes 2 hours to get this stuff off, right? So here I am in the trailer in the shower, and there's like special stuff that you have to use to get all the paint off, right? All the body paint. I'm in the shower, and all of a sudden the whole trailer starts shaking, and I'm screaming, "Hey!"
They're
like,
taking
I'm in
off.
Here, I'm in here. They thought that everybody was gone, and I was the last trailer.
But the water hooked up? I mean, is it completely portable?
They were moving. Yeah, so they were, but that's what I think. They were trying to shut everything down, and they were unhooking other trailers around me, and everything started shaking, and I was like, I'm in here.
Jeez, man.
Yes, it was a pretty fun experience, that's for sure.
What was it like having your head removed by Connor Trinneer? Your last episode was the last man in a possible deleted future.
That was so funny. That was so funny. Yeah, did you know that there's like, because my friends send me this stuff. There's a website, or not a website, but they make memes. Like Wraith, and then they put they have pictures of Wraith, and then they put funny sayings. Have you seen
I'm
these?
sure I've seen some. Yeah, the meme culture is huge.
Yeah, and there's one with Connor holding up my decapitated head. Have you seen it?
I don't think so. Maybe, but
I don't know.
What's the one that you're thinking of?
Okay, that's he's holding it up, and then on it it says, "When I asked for head, this is not what I meant."
All right.
I didn't write it. I did not write it. I did not write. Is that the worst?
Oh my God. Time code 13530
You have to cut that out.
to mute that word. Oh, Andee, that's fantastic. Oh,
you
gosh.
have to look it up.
I will.
You have to look it up, and then yeah.
So maybe you could use that for Seven. You could use that for Game of Thrones. You know. Oh man, that's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not professional.
Yeah. So no, that is, well, I just told you how professional my job is.
Oh,
this is what happens to me. So yeah, you can use that. If my cinematic moment has been turned into a meme, then I guess.
Well, I mean, and that's not the weirdest one. I would think the weirdest one is Spoils of War, when we find out how you make the drones. You're not only are you in all this makeup, but you're also plugged into this tree
chair.
Yeah. For God's sake, you know? I mean, hopefully, most of it was built and you just sit into it and they just attach it to you.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly. It was so the reality of it was all the chair.
Yeah.
And then I just sat in the chair.
That's what they all say, Andee. It's just all the chair. It's not you.
It was not me. It was the chair. But yeah, they draped some stuff so it looked like I was entangled in the chair. But no, that was Set Deck, the incredible creations that they made. But yeah, that was my story of my lost head.
Oh gosh. Any other antics that we may have missed? I don't specifically usually ask the antics question, but I mean, you're always a treat to provide the fun details.
Oh God. Because I may not remember your name, but I'll tell you a good story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a great memory for details. Well, actually, we're talking about working with James, who is a comedian. Yeah. Like, come on, and you do spend a lot of time waiting for setups and lighting. Not a lot of time. I mean, the time that's needed to be taken, but there's downtime, right? And when you're in full prosthetics, to go all the way back to your trailer, it really can damage more of you than just sitting still, So he was a great source of entertainment for of those long hauls, I guess. And one of my favorites is, do you remember the episode where he gets turned into a human?
Yeah, allies.
So we use the retrovirus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you remember the room, it's like it's like a bed, like it's like a surgical, like an operating room, right? Yeah. I guess is the word I'm looking for. So while we were waiting, and he's in full Wraith, okay? And remember how I told how long it takes to get out of Wraith, right? So they didn't have him in like close-up Wraith, but they had him in Wraith, really like good. So he's laying on the bed and we're waiting for things and the lighting from above and this kind of stuff. And he's being a ham, he's just being that. Anyway, those things that you stick on to take a heart monitor, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember what the thing was, but he decided to stick them to his head and he was making me laugh. And then they're like, okay, now first team, first position. And he's like, and they were stuck to his face. And so he's like, slow him down. And he was like trying to like pick these things off of his, oh my God. It was
in makeup.
So funny. He's like,
but he's already in makeup.
That's it. And they're stuck to his mask, which is stuck to his face, which is, oh my God. So he's pulling, eyes are going like, I'm like, oh my God, you got to get that thing off your face. So anyway, it turns out he's like, stall them. And I'm like, trying to, and he's pulling. Finally, he just gives up and he turns to, so they're like, what's happening? Because his back is to them, and he turns around with these things and he goes, I can't get them off. And so they had to take them, they had to remove them, redo the makeup, put him in the bed. Yeah. Then do the one shot where this happened, where he turns into the human, then they had to go take all the makeup off, but funny.
50 to 100 people are waiting on you.
That's it.
You're waiting on them, and then they're waiting on you because you decided to be funny.
Because you stuck some things to your face. Yeah. So he was pretty funny. So it was a great cast, right? Everybody was very like, I want to say like one-upsmans. Like, I guess you put a bunch of actors in a room and everybody wants to make everybody laugh,
right?
Yeah.
It's a long day,
You
have to have a good time. So.
And that's just it, and there's no, and this is again, pre-cell phone, like everybody had a cell phone, but there wasn't like all these apps
and
everything.
The distractions weren't really on it.
There was
a little bit of texting, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, but you were pretty much just talking to each other, you know. Now you go on set and it's silent. I find that really interesting, usually background is kind of, conversing with each other. And now everybody's like, and then as soon as they say ready, then everybody's like, put them away.
But still, what a different culture we live in now.
Is so different,
Yeah.
And so, I wonder now what the stories of more if we had been so occupied, because we're on such a great set too. It's not like we were in a lawyer's office or something,
Yeah,
we were on another
extraordinary
planet.
Set. Yeah, in another galaxy. How much further out can you get?
Galaxy, trying to make each other laugh. It's we had a lot of good tools.
One of the things that I wish that had been explored more, and it just got dropped, around season 2. I mean, it was still very much a part of the species, but we just didn't see it used for whatever reason. Was their psionic abilities? I mean, they would invade other people's minds. That was so just, you could mine that for episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I think they touched again with in
with
that
Taylor.
One episode with Taylor. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think they leaned more that she had an ability
That's right.
to
Season
get into
3,
our mind.
Submersion.
Yeah, versus us into her mind, or but they did. I like you said there. I think of course, I felt the show could have gone on and on and on and on, because I'm sure the fans would
as
well.
Yeah, at least one more year. Wrap up the Wraith.
And there was so much to explore about them, and it was exciting to see where they were going with it. So, what could they have done with, just by, like you said, diving into those different characteristics and where would that have gone? And I mean, possibility, right?
Batmall,
so much there.
A fan, Batmall asked, would you like to make a return in Stargate in the future? And a question, how would you feel about motion capture augmenting some of the makeup?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, number one, absolutely. If they want me to play anything on a reboot of Stargate of any, oh yes, I had such a great time. I really love the writing. I love the concept of the show, everything about it. So I would, yes, absolutely. And I mean, not about the talent and creativity of creating the costumes and the makeup and stuff, which I think the talent is unbelievable. I feel there might be more freedom in a motion capture and then adding, because there were limitations in the cost, in the prosthetics, even mobility things, using different, I think there might have been more freedom to use the body more if we weren't encumbered, by so many of the prosthetics and just the fatigue, of wearing them, it really all day, it takes a lot of energy to just have all of that on you all the time. So if you didn't have that, imagine the exploration you could. But this is not to take away from their incredible talent of how they make these things.
No, it just might be a different way to explore it.
So. Yes, yeah, just give the characters different characteristics as well. Like give the race different mobilities and different, I feel there might have been more freedom with the motion capture because of that. You don't have the physical limitations.
Did you utilize the difference of each queen's appearance as the starting place for giving them a slightly altered personality, or did the script come first? Was it a combination of both?
The script.
Okay.
For me, well, I think it's a good combination of both, but for me was more the script. The script tells you, the writing tells you what the intention is. And when you know the intention, then you have a behavior, that gets you you attempt to get your intention met. You get your demands met. And so you'll try different tactics. So I think the differences between the queens was their different intentions of what they wanted.
They all wanted something different, yeah.
They all wanted something very different. And so I happen to have these different characteristics, like in Allies, the queen was much more sophisticated. Like she was less wraith and more human, like she was very fashion conscious.
And she was thinking shoes. She did have some good shoes in the white leather. I sold that outfit, but she was thinking very strategically, I mean, she was thinking much more towards galactic domination.
Exactly. And she was using that. So she was using more of her human characteristics to talk to them. I remember this one scene sitting across from Shepard and I remember thinking like she's really pulling back because she really wants
something
kind of she really wants something, but instead of using her like normal, I'm just the boss, give me what I want, and I remember actually watching that particular episode, and I can see where my face changed as I made the decision to play it differently. And so that's also in the organic moment of working with Tori and Joe and like in that moment. So, but yeah, I don't think the prosthetics came with me, if that makes sense. Like you make the intention based on the script, and then the characteristics of the prosthetics came along with the character. They weren't sort of first and then, Wow.
Very
I think that's a long about way to answer your question.
No, it works. Do you have a little bit more time for trivia?
Mm-hmm. I absolutely do. And look at me, I wrote down. I wrote down some questions.
Oh my God.
I wrote some questions. Okay.
Who was the trivia? It was submitted by a fan. Did you have their name in the email? Okay, I can pull it.
I'm ready for certain. I didn't even have the air conditioner on when I got here.
Right,
I am not that ready.
That's fair. All right.
I thought I was excellent at finding paper and a pen. In this generation, I found a paper and a pen. I thought that was pretty ingenious of me.
So Plachu submitted the trivia questions that you're going to ask for me, and
yes.
I, of course, have ones for you. So what is your easy question for me? I have not peeked.
Okay. Oh, boy. When was Atlantis's shield raised for the first time by Atlantis personnel?
They get the ZPM in the Siege Part 3, just before the darts do a kamikaze. I'm going to say it's the Siege Part... No! I'm wrong.
Good.
I'm completely wrong.
Woo, wow,
no, it's the Eye.
Wow.
Was I wrong?
Okay. No, you absolutely got it right.
It's turned on for like not even a minute. It's turned on just long enough to stop the tsunami. So
an easy one.
I have an easy one for you.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's the easy one of the three. There's a medium and a hard. What is the function of the jewelry worn on the fingers of Wraith Queens?
Oh. So they don't pick their nose?
You, Andee, told this to me. I asked you once, and you said, "Oh, it's for this."
To make a fist?
What's on their hands?
Oh, the hand Gina. To close your Gina?
Yes, Andee. That's correct. Oh my gosh.
I said that?
It's no, not that.
Oh, funny.
It's armor.
It's armor.
Yes.
To protect your genie.
Yes. Keep that. My heavens. All right.
I can't believe I said that.
I don't. That's the first time I've actually heard you say that. So anyway, yeah. Because they're most sensitive. They're most sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's armor in case they get,
they
pummeled.
get their Gina knocked.
Andee Frizzell.
And you know.
Jeez.
And you know how I found out that that's what they call that, right?
No. Who said it?
So, so I was. They had a bunch of them in the prosthetics trailer.
Oh, so they were applied
on the wall. So
okay.
So they're reapplied. And so I was like, "Hey, what is this hand Gina?" And they're like, "Wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "It's called a hand Gina."
Whatever makes it work, man.
So I call it a Gina. I was
got
like,
it.
That's the Gina. So the armor is to protect their Ginas.
Yes.
I got it.
Oh my God.
Oh, man, I can't believe it.
Hey.
I can't believe I forgot that.
No, just that was only round one. All right, you start round two.
Oh no. Okay. In which Atlantis episode do we see? Oh wait, no, I think that's the hard one. Okay. Wait. Oh, okay. Whoops. Yes. Okay. Wait. In how many episodes do we see Samantha Carter with glowing Gould eyes? SG1.
Okay. Yeah, that's an SG1 question. So the first one was in the Line of Duty, and then the next one was Nightwalkers, because she had an infant one implanted then. I think that's it.
Oh my God, you're a wizard.
I swear I've not looked at them. I'm not cheating. So is that it?
Oh
is
my
it
God,
the two?
I know. Yes, you got both.
It's like
of
if
them.
it's a third one, I can't think of the third. So okay.
No, you got both of them. Wow.
Awesome.
You're super good at this.
I'm
I'm super
sad
not
human
good.
being.
Not
Medium.
at all. That's great. That's a medium one.
All right. So medium question for you. Before Colonel Sumner, the first person the keeper consumed was sitting at the table. What was the name?
The stroking of the skeleton.
Yes. Before he became Skeletor, what is the name of his race or his home planet?
Okay, so I don't know that answer to that question, but I do know that he was with Taylor. And I will tell you a little story about when I went to see the premiere of the show. Okay. So you know that when we shoot things, we shoot them out of sequence. Correct. And we shoot them, right? So prior to this, it was only a skeleton, right? So we're in the show and we're watching the premiere and I'm like, wow, this is really exciting. And then I see Taylor and my friend get scooped up in a beam and I'm like, hey, I know that guy. And 3 people around me started laughing because I didn't know that was him. That's the skeleton.
That you ate.
That I ate. I was like, hey, I know that guy. And everybody started laughing.
Jeez.
So unfortunately, I know the human him. I don't know the.
What's the actor's name?
I guess he's still human. Now you get. Do we not just go over how I'm bad with names?
All right, that's a fair point. All right, okay, so let me give you a hint. So, 3 Musketeers, Porthos,
the chocolate bar.
No. The 3. Oh gosh, for heaven's sakes. Okay, Alexandre Dumas.
No, give it to me. Give it to me. 3 Musketeers.
Porthos and starts with an A.
Athos.
Yes. There you go. She's from Athos. You got it.
Athos.
It's like pulling teeth.
Okay.
It's like pulling Wraith teeth. All right.
Yeah.
How was that? How was talking? All we want is the retrovirus.
Oh my God.
All living things must eat. It was a lot of ADR. It had to have been.
Yes, a lot of ADR, which I really would like to say launched my voice acting career is because I had to do so much ADR. Yes, we had a lot. There was a lot of, I mean, it is definitely not COVID-19 approved, those teeth, like 100%.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I did a lot of spitting. I did sound like, Tweety Bird from like this about like, I think I started. Yeah, well, I'm going to get you. And how, when you're like talking to, Robert Patrick and you're like, how he
or
Flanigan.
I mean, how do they just keep from laughing?
Exactly. How are they not laughing?
What's my hard question?
Okay, your hard question. Okay, in which Atlantis episode do we see Cull Warriors?
The Cull Warriors were in an episode. That's right.
Oh my gosh! Can you?
I think it's the episode names are not that good for me anymore. I think that it's Phantoms. Is that right?
Oh my God, it's
totally
right. Yes.
Yeah, because I did an interview with Dan Payne, and I said, I was bringing up the Cull Warriors, and before the episode had aired, he was like, I wear it again. And I'm like, but they're gone. And he's like, I know. I said, you wear it again? He said, yeah. And then Phantoms came out, and it was a flashback. It was Atlantis doing little ties to SG-1, and it was brilliant. So I think that was Phantoms.
So, for extra points, can you tell me what season it was in?
I think it's season 3.
Ding. Okay.
Is it season 3? Okay.
Extra. It is.
Oh God.
For extra points.
The episode number?
Yeah.
It's the early half of the season. I think it's around 7 or 8.
Oh, so close. It's 9. You're so good.
Oh God! It's more of it's coming back as I talk with you guys more. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not hopeless.
God,
Andee, your hard question is.
Oh no! Is it my last name? Please let it be. What's my last name? What's my hard question?
Name the only episode a Wraith Queen appears in Atlantis.
What? A Wraith Queen appears in Atlantis? That's Allies. Yes, that was an easy one.
Right. I thought it was hard.
Oh my God. That's the easy one. Because I was, and I remember that episode specifically, because I was with my friend Brent State, who was playing Connor's character.
Right. And Connor did the voiceover later.
Yes, and so Brent, they were like, let's wrap this up. And Brent's like, let's take a bunch of pictures of us in front of this gate because we're never coming back. No. So we did a bunch of pictures in front of the gate. It was gorgeous. So, because, we're always on our planet or whatever in our ship. So we were like, we got to take a bunch of selfies of us in this.
So bonus for you. Brent played someone in season 1 of SG1 for 2 episodes. Name the character from the movie that he was playing or the actor that he was replacing from the movie.
Oh my God, you're so mean. Can you give me another chocolate bar hint? Was he playing?
Stand by for the big giant head. Oh, but you don't watch TV.
I don't. I feel terrible that I don't know that. And Brent has done so much, he's so talented and has done so many things that it would be.
In the feature film, there's an actor who his first name is a European language.
Okay, in the movie, is a European language?
The actor's first name is a European language.
Is his name Czech Republic? Is his name?
Oh man. Parlez-vous français?
Oh, his name is French?
French. It was in Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh my God, I'm so bad with names.
French Stewart.
Remember? French Stewart.
Brent State replaced French Stewart in SG1 in the pilot episode and in the season 1 finale.
Oh my God.
Within the Serpent's Grasp.
You're amazing.
I'm finally putting this information to use again. But it wasn't for a while, and now I'm playing in the universe again, and now it's coming back. So yeah, but hey, you got that hard question. You hit that out of the park, and you got Athos after prompting.
I feel like you had a list of questions, and you're like, if she can't answer number 2, we got to go back.
No, it's all good. It's great. Andee, my last question for you.
Yes.
The fans have really been tremendous in this. This Happy Halloween, Andee, by the way. This will air on Halloween.
Oh, yes.
So
almost
of all the ones to air, the ones that make the best Halloween costumes, we're talking to her right here. And I have seen some amazing Wraith costumes and cosplay. Before I let you go, I have to know any standout experiences with fans over the years from the conventions.
Oh my God, that would be another hour and 40 minutes for sure. If I gave a shout out, honestly, every single convention that I went to, I had an experience with just connecting with people. I mean, I'm a theater trained actor, and when you do theater, you immediately feel the connection to the audience and their connection to your work. And so when you're in the medium of film and TV, you don't get that. And so going to a convention and being able to then, it's like, I mean, it's after the fact, but feeling from each of the fans again, we go back to the imagination that it inspired in them, the creativity that inspired in them. So when it
brought them peace.
Yes. Yeah. Like they just, they love the show so much. And then you get that connection with them through your work. And then it validates, it's like you're getting that. I mean, it's later, but you do still get that connection with them. So I would say any convention that I went to, there's not one. Actually, that's a lie. I just thought of a really funny.
Okay.
I just remembered one.
You can't stop there.
I know. Okay. So I think you might have to get permission from Holly Do you know Holly?
No.
Okay, well then good. I'll just say it's Holly and I. So we were in Chicago, and near the hotel that the convention is, there's a nightclub and like a casino with like a nightclub in it. And we, after the day's events, and we were all wound up, you know, you get to meet so many people, and it was so exciting and so much fun. And I wasn't ready to sleep. And she's like, well, let's go. And I'm like, let's go dance it off at this place. And so we ended up in this nightclub. There's all these guys dressed in these weird outfits, and they were busting out moves from like the 1980s. And I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in my life. I don't know whether they were like trying to pick up ladies, or if they were like paid to be there. But oh my God, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard. So there's that time with Holly. Yeah, that was really fun because it was very spontaneous. But I do have to say, I wouldn't want to single out just one fan, because they're all so amazing. And like you said, this show is still alive, you know, because of the fans. Mm-hmm. And it's doing very well in streaming. Yes, it's amazing. I love it. And it's the fans that are keeping it alive and keeping these characters alive. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't single out one. I love conventions. I love connecting with you guys and getting the feedback about the show. And it's really exciting for me that you know all this trivia. Like, it means so much to you. And I got to be a part of that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's a very important part of my life. You weren't just creating a character and then taking a paycheck and going home and doing the next gig. You guys were creating content that matters to people, you know, and you're making Shakespearean content that makes you think, you know, and you had your part to play in that. And I really appreciate you coming on and spending 2 hours with me.
Oh my God.
Of your afternoon. It has. So they're going to eat it up.
You're going to have to edit.
I will.
You're going to have to edit.
I will.
Andee talking too much.
Hey, you were interesting, you know, and I haven't seen you in 2 years. So, you know, it's what a journey.
Neither is my mom.
Wow.
Neither is my mom.
Well, I hope you FaceTime her. So.
Yes, actually I do, very much so. But yeah, it's been a while since I've been back. That's for sure. But I know there's so much gratitude that comes from the fans to us. And I don't know if we've told you, or I specifically, how much I appreciate the fans. The fans are always saying to us, like, how grateful that they are to us that we put this, you know, we'll be able to participate in this. But I always want to thank the fans, because to be a part of this and to have it still living this long. And Tori Higgins and I did a convention in England a while back. And she said something that really resonated with me. It was at the end of the convention, and she was thanking the fans. And she said, what other profession do people get to participate in something that lives like this, that the people are so grateful for, that thank us, you know? And she said, I don't know any other profession where, you know, you go to the post office and you're like, thanks for delivering the mail.
Not in mass.
Not
maybe
the
teaching, but that's a one-on-one experience. You're making a one-on-one connection with millions of people around the world.
Yeah. And their gratitude humbles me. And I think that's what Tori was trying to say, is that there's no other profession that you get pulled up on, you know, to these conventions, up on stage, and just platitudes of grateful, you know, gratefulness coming at you for something you created and co-created with everyone else, writers, directors, you know. But it's pretty amazing, and I'm humbled by it. And you guys, you know, keeping it alive, and it's still relevant because of you guys.
I think the material makes it relevant. I think the fans are just responding to those ripples. You guys put out some good ripples.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really amazing. So I thank you for taking 2 hours to hang out with me. I really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. From that first dinner that we had at Earl's before we sat down for that first interview, I was like, she's a keeper.
Oh,
and she is the
she's
keeper.
A talker. Yes, exactly.
That was not on purpose. I didn't mean to do that.
Yes.
Oh gosh, that happens to me all the time.
You have to do that. She is literally a keeper. The keeper. That's going to be the title of this one, because the other one was Queen of the Hungry. Now this one has to be the keeper.
She's a real
keeper of the keeper. Yeah.
That's too funny. Andee, I would love to have you back when you are stateside to have a live Q&A with fans. I can't tell you how much I've missed you. And
thank you.
I really appreciate you being one of my first guests on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, when we're in a time zone that's applicable, that's compatible, I will. Yeah, when we're in a time zone that's compatible, I absolutely love to be on the show again.
Thank you so much, Andee. I appreciate you
thank
taking
you, thank
time.
you, thank you, thank you.
Andee Frizzell, everyone, the Wraith Queens. Thank you so much for hanging on with us through this show. We definitely ran a little bit longer than expected, but Andee was willing. So hey, if I've got a guest who is having interesting stories, and we're not locked into the next bumping up to the next guest, I'm certainly thankful for their time. But before we go, if you like what you've seen in this episode, I would really appreciate it if you'd click that like button. It makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm, and will definitely help the show grow its audience, continue to grow, I should say. We're doing amazing, thanks to you. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. If you plan to watch live, I recommend giving the bell icon a click so that you'll be the first to know of any schedule changes, which will probably happen all the time. And bear in mind, clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on both the Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Halloween to everyone that's out there. I hope you guys are staying safe, and we'll see you on the other side.